Today, pollution is everywhere and is having a major impact on our environment. It is affecting our wildlife and is putting many animal species, humans included, at risk. Are we too occupied with our modern devices to see that we are doing more harm than good to the environment? The world can be a beautiful place, and it makes me sad that we refuse to open our eyes and see the damage we are causing. In science class, I remember talking about how humans are essentially parasites upon the Earth, and sooner or later we will be purged from the Earth system, leaving only our long history of exploitation behind. One of mankind's worst legacies may be air pollution. An exponential rate of fossil fuels consumption is eating holes in the ozone layer. This leads to increasing Earth's temperatures and subsequent melting of polar ice. Arctic animals such as the polar bear are facing starvation as the lack of ice makes it difficult for them to hunt. The amount of pollution humans are producing is phenomenal. Agricultural runoff is a major source of toxins going into our water supply. Overuse of pesticides and insecticides aimed at increasing agricultural yields find their way into groundwater, rivers, lakes, and ultimately the ocean. Increased urbanization accelerates the toxification process by decreasing the amount of land that can absorb and filter rainwater. As a result, water treatment facilities are often overwhelmed by heavy rainfall. Acid rain is another product of our polluting lifestyles. Once a major news story, problems caused by acid rain have never gone away and will most likely get worse now that the leaders of certain countries are finding that their promises to reduce pollution are simply too expensive to keep. When government regulation gets replaced by voluntary compliance, it is hard to see how the situation is going to get any better. But there is some good news, at least for Canadians. Justin Trudeau remains committed to the Paris Climate Agreement, which is a commitment to reduce greenhouse gas consumption and slow down global warming. In Ontario, Kathleen Wynne's cap-and-trade program is providing incentives to corporations who reduce their harmful emissions. Personally, I have tried to make my own little contribution to the environment by planting trees and flowers in my backyard. I have started to use reusable water bottles and strive to create as little waste as possible. If everyone was to do the same, the world and its people might just stand a chance. How would you feel if someone invited themselves over for dinner and then proceeded to eat everyone else's dinner as well? Not very good, right? Well, that's basically what invasive species do. Biological diversity may be beneficial, but not when a foreign species threatens to eradicate a native one. Every few years, it seems that a new invasive species is making headlines. For my parents, Dutch elm's disease was big news as elm bark beetles devastated the landscape. In the 80s, zebra mussels appeared and immediately started causing problems. They clogged up water intake pipes and diminished the amount of algae available for the fish. Despite our best efforts to eliminate them, zebra mussels continue to spread beyond the Great Lakes. Not all invaders have legs. The purple loosestrife, an appealing and seemingly innocent-looking plant, is causing trouble. Although it is beneficial to the bee population, loosestrife is invading pastures and reducing grazing land for cattle. Closer to home, the emerald ash borer recently wiped out nearly all the ash trees in our neighborhood. Originating in Eastern Asia, the emerald ash borer made its way across Quebec and Ontario and was first found in Canada in 2002 in Windsor, Ontario. The insect's larvae burrow the inner bark of the ash trees while the young beetles feed on the leaves, damaging and eventually killing the tree. Last year, I watched in sadness as tree after tree was removed from our street, a pile of wood chips left in its place. Not even Brampton, a city formerly known as Flower Town, was spared from the damaging effects of this tree-eating insect. To be accurate, not all invasive species are uninvited. Some hitch a ride in the bilge water of a ship or in the pocket of an unsuspecting tourist, but quite ironically, some have been intentionally introduced in order to control a dominant species. Regardless, invasive species are just another example of human interference or negligence leading to undesirable consequences. Food has changed a lot over the years and it still continues to change. To keep up with demand, food engineering has become a growing field. If science has made our lives better, why not let it try and make our food better? Harmful chemicals are injected into chickens to make them grow larger in a shorter amount of time. They can even be genetically modified to produce more white meat. Food marketing is big business and it thrives in a society where people are gullible and desire anything they see on a billboard, in a magazine, or on a TV screen. These days, people are often too busy to learn about what they are eating or investigate what kind of ingredients and chemicals are being put into their food. Watching the video Food Inc. opened my eyes to see the nasty side of the food preparation industry. It saddened me to see the poor conditions in which animals were kept, chickens being fed growth drugs and growing so large they couldn't even walk. Vegetables are also being genetically modified. For example, corn is being genetically modified to increase its resistance against drought, insects, and fertilizers. An increasing population combined with the shrinking amount of arable land is fueling the need for high-yield crops. Proponents of genetically modified foods stress that the food undergoes testing for nutritional value and poses no threat to human health. This may sound good, but genetically modified fruits and vegetables can still pose a risk to other vegetation by interfering with the natural pollination process. Some critics refuse to believe that genetically modified food is safe, and perhaps they have a point. After all, at one time, bloodletting, cigarettes, and thalidomide were all considered safe and effective treatments. Government regulations do not necessarily protect us, and food labels are often just another example of corporate trickery. Fats become replaced with sugar, sugar becomes replaced with sugar alcohols. Labels promise all natural with little explanation of what that actually means. On condiments such as ketchup, a company may try to trick you into thinking it is healthier than it actually is by separating corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup on the list of ingredients, when in reality, they are the same. Humans are indeed a part of nature, but we are the only animal that manipulates our environment as we live in it. Whether humans arrived on Earth through evolution or creation, we are definitely the new kid on the block. But we certainly haven't acted that way. It seems to me humanity could use a little more humility.